They said faith couldn't change the course of history, but wait till you hear how desperate prayers and belief sparked miraculous victories, saving entire nations when everything seemed lost. You're about to hear real stories that sound impossible. When the world hits a breaking point, faith can flip the script. Today, we're diving into jaw-dropping moments in history where faith walked right onto the battlefield and the outcome was a miracle. Stay here, because some of these stories will mess with what you thought was possible. Let's be honest, most people see faith as something private, personal, maybe even powerless in the face of real-world chaos. Wars are won by force, right? Armies, weapons, strategies, that's what decides victory. But go back through the pages of history, and you'll find times when faith showed up in places no one expected, between fear and courage, doubt and hope, even life and death. People ask, can faith really change history? Is it nothing more than wishful thinking? Or is there something behind those people who believe so fiercely that even world events turn upside down? We're going straight into the struggle between doubt and hope, where whole nations reached the end of their strength and faith became the final weapon. Let's start with one of the boldest examples, the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. This moment in history really put Catholic faith to the test. The Christian coalition was seriously outnumbered. The Ottoman Empire's navy was recognized as unbeatable. It was more than just about land or politics. The future of Christian Europe was hanging by a thread. In the weeks before the battle, Pope Pius V didn't sit back. He called for prayer, asking every Catholic across Europe to pray the rosary. Inside Rome and all over, people flooded churches, candles burned, beads slipped through fingers, lips whispered pleas for protection and victory. If you think prayer is just a ritual, stop and think about this. These were regular people, poor and rich, old and young, believing that somehow their prayers could move heaven and earth. On the morning of the Battle of Lepanto, October 7th, everything looked hopeless. But something happened. The wind that had favored the Ottoman ships switched at the last minute, pushing the Christian fleet forward. The Ottomans were thrown into confusion. At the end of the day, what was supposed to be a crushing defeat turned into a stunning victory. Even seasoned sailors called the shift impossible and supernatural. That victory stopped the Ottoman advance and changed the map of Europe. To this day, Catholics honor October 7th as the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, remembering that faith was stronger than fear. If you think that's the only case, let's jump forward to World War II, Dunkirk. 1940. Thousands of Allied soldiers were trapped on the beaches of France. The Nazi army was closing in fast, and every route of escape looked blocked. Word got back to England, and the reaction from the government and the public was desperate. Winston Churchill called for a national day of prayer. Churches across the country filled up completely. You could hear voices echoing out open doors, prayers rising up from people who didn't even know soldiers personally. Now, the weather that week was supposed to be perfect for the Nazis' clear skies for air attacks. But after the day of prayer, the weather turned unexpectedly against the Germans. The English Channel grew extremely calm, almost eerily so well beyond what was normal. Over 300,000 soldiers escaped death, when experts said only 30,000 rescuees would be lucky. People on both sides, believers and non-believers, recognized something had happened. Even today, it's called the Miracle of Dunkirk. You might hear some skeptics say, that's just luck. Or maybe weather. But over and over, history tells a different story. Faith isn't used as an excuse, it rises when fear is highest and possibility lowest. Another dramatic moment, Fatima, Portugal, 1917. 3 kids, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, started telling everyone they were seeing the Virgin Mary. That alone had plenty of doubters rolling their eyes. But the kids kept repeating Mary's message. Keep praying the rosary. Toward the end, they predicted a public miracle, something big, at noon on October 13th. That day, over 70,000 people crowded the fields. It was pouring rain, mud everywhere, and most people were tired and skeptical. Suddenly, the rain stopped, clouds pulled apart, and the sun seemed to dance in the sky, spinning, pulsing colored light, plunging back and forth. Even journalists, atheists, and doubters stood in shock. Newspapers printed descriptions of what people saw. The kids' message was clear. Faith is real and miracles happen where hope meets prayer. Going back in time, let's talk about the Siege of Vienna. 1683, the Holy Roman Empire faced what looked like certain defeat. The invading Ottoman force was huge, well-supplied, and relentless. The defenders were exhausted, outnumbered, almost hopeless. But instead of panic, there was prayer. Churches buzzed with hymns and whispered pleas. Families lit candles and prayed to Our Lady of Czestochowa, a beloved guardian. The battle turned when Polish King Jan Sobieski led a counterattack. The tide flipped, and the enemy was turned back, a victory marked as miraculous, credited to both strategy and deep faith. The survival of Vienna meant more than one city. It saved Christianity in much of Europe. Faith didn't just rescue armies, it saved lives one by one. Look at Hiroshima, 1945. An atomic bomb flattened everything around ground zero. Still, 8 German Jesuit priests survived in a house just kilometers from the blast. Doctors checked them for radiation damage and expected them not to live long, but they had almost no effects. When asked, the priests insisted their safety was because they prayed the rosary daily and followed the Virgin Mary's requests at Fatima. Skeptics will always challenge these moments. But even scientists who studied the priests couldn't give a logical explanation for their survival. Sometimes faith writes the story no one else can. Faith shaped more than wars and disasters. It shaped cultures, societies, and laws. Take Mexico's Cristero War. In the 1920s, the government tried to stamp out Catholicism. No more public displays of faith, no mass, no sacraments. Priests risked their lives, hunted by authorities. The faithful met in secret, praying rosaries underground, handing out scapulars, passing coded messages. For years, it looked like all hope was lost. But the people didn't stop. Miraculous stories spread. People rescued at the last moment. Bullets missing priests. Unexpected reversals. Eventually, the faith movement outlasted government hostility. The right to practice Catholicism came back to this day. Many families tell stories of miracles in those years. Faith can also defeat not only external enemies, but the inner struggles that threaten to destroy hope. Think about the Battle of Covadonga, Spain, in the 8th century. The Muslim armies had swept through much of what became Spain and Portugal. The Christians were a small group, worn down by defeat. Leaders called for prayer, not because they had strong armies, but because they barely had anything left. Against all odds, the Christian forces won at Covadonga. It kicked off the centuries-long Reconquista, forever changing Western Europe. Sometimes faith shows itself not with huge battles, but small victories, silent prayers answered in impossible ways. Grandparents who watched their families survive famine. Parents who saw a sick child recover against all odds. Even students who prayed to pass a crucial exam and did. Miracles might not always be headline news, but ask around your own family or community. Many will quietly share stories where prayer defeated despair. What really happens when faith faces off against the impossible? Look at these moments. Thousands of people, whole nations, even entire worlds stood at the edge of chaos, and faith was the difference. At Lepanto, Dunkirk, Fatima, Vienna, Hiroshima, Covadonga, and even in everyday homes, prayer was more than words. Faith breathed new hope when there was none left. Maybe people will always argue about what happened. Wars are still won by armies and strategy, right? But these stories refuse to be just myths. Eyewitnesses, enemies, even scientists agree something unexplainable broke through. Call it God, call it faith, whatever it was, it changed history. You might ask, were these moments just lucky coincidences? Did prayers really draw down miracles, or was it all just timing? Everyone will have their own take, but facts stay facts. Letters, records, eyewitness reports tell us the same thing. When hope was dying and fear was everywhere, people chose faith and something changed. That's why stories like these stick with us. They go beyond history books. They remind us that there's more to life and more to the battles we face than we can see or measure. Faith isn't about being perfect or never doubting. It's about turning to God when everything seems lost and still believing it's not over. Every generation faces its own battles. Maybe you're not standing on a battlefield, but you know moments when the odds are against you. You might be struggling to finish school, find work, pull your family together, or heal after hurt. The world isn't always fair. It can be harsh and unforgiving. What these stories show is that faith gives you a way to see beyond the moment of fear and to hope for what seems impossible. Ask anyone who's seen a miracle, and they'll explain that faith isn't a guarantee, but it's an open door. Let's get really honest, most people struggle with doubt. Even the biggest saints and warriors questioned themselves, wondered if prayer did anything at all. That's normal. Faith is a battle inside you before it's ever a battle outside. Every saint, every regular believer faced those inner wars. Sometimes the miracle isn't in winning a war, it's in not giving up hope. Maybe the biggest miracle is finding peace when everything else says panic. Faith has shaped our world in ways we can hardly explain. Maybe we'll never know exactly why certain moments flipped from disaster to miracle. But history doesn't lie. When faith walked onto the battlefield, miracles followed, and the story isn't over. Maybe right now you're facing something that feels impossible, the odds stacked up, hope running out. These stories remind you that you're not alone. That quiet prayer, that silent hope, might be the thing that turns your story around. Faith isn't magic, and it's not always about flashing lights or instant results. Sometimes it's just holding on. But when enough people hold on together, sometimes the world really does change. So next time you hear someone say faith can't change reality, remember Lepanto, Dunkirk, Fatima, Vienna, Hiroshima, Covadonga, and all the hidden miracles that didn't make the news. Remember that your own battles matter too. Faith isn't just for the big moments, it's for every step, every struggle. Subscribe if you want more real stories where faith flipped the impossible.